Lee Money here for Redline Radio and Young's Jewelry. Young's Jewelry has been creating quality jewelry since 1975. You know, when I was looking for my wife's engagement ring and even her wedding ring, Young's Jewelry is where I went. Call them today at 440-455-1026 and tell them that Redline Radio sent you. Redline Radio LLC is proud to partner with Growing Wings Adult Services for the creation of our brand new state-of-the-art production studio. Growing Wings Adult Services has been assisting adults with disabilities in the Northeast Ohio area for the past 5 years. For more information on how Lisa and the team at Growing Wings can assist your family, you can contact Lisa at 234-334-7547 today. Again, that's 234-334-7547. If you love high-octane, pedal-to-the-metal pro wrestling action, then look no further than Redline Pro Wrestling. Stay tuned for news coming in 2022. What's going on, everybody? Do you own your own small business? Do you want to get more advertising? Check us out at Redline Radio LLC. We are always accepting brand new sponsorships to get your business more recognition. Get a hold of Dave from Redline Radio today at 440-503-0828.
This is really gross, but dirty trash cans can pose a serious health risk to you and your family. The pungent smell can attract rats and flies, not to mention maggots, both of which can contain dangerous diseases transferable to humans. Your dirty trash can is susceptible to harboring dangerous bacteria. Contact Brandon at Fitz Trash Bin Cleaning today at 440-752-1533 or find them on Facebook. Veteran owned and operated and eco-friendly. Again, call Brandon at 440-752-1533.
Turn my headphones up. No, I'm serious. I can't hear out of the left one. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel. And joining me, as always, is Ronnie, Big Smooth Henning. And Smooth, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot, brother. It's been a crazy week, days, all of that, but I am glad to be back. What is going on with you?
Oh, man. Truth be told, covering the Cobras. Shout out to them, by the way. They are actually 500 now. They won their last two, including a 60-6 win in West Virginia, which is something that's very hard to do, by the way. If you play football in any manner, when you go to West Virginia, it is very hard to win in West Virginia. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why. It just is. But they are 2-2. They actually jumped up in the Tri-Point Football League rankings this week, and they got a big game against Gladiators, a rematch from week one that didn't go so well. So shout out to the Cobras. Keep it going. As you can be sure that game will be broadcasted on the 216 Sports Network, and it's going to be a barn burner. Also, before we get started, got to do one more big shout out, as today one of our brothers, Jared Davis, is celebrating his birthday today. So happy birthday, Jared.
Yeah.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple of weeks, don't you got one coming up?
Yeah, man. I am the 25th.
Yeah, the big 4-0, baby.
Not yet. Not quite.
I was playing.
It feel like it though. It feel like it.
Man, shit, we've been feeling like that since we left high school, man.
For real. Seriously.
All right. You said you had some topics you wanted to get into, so yeah, I'm gonna let you take this one.
All right.
It's gonna be
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it, man. So first things first, we'll kick it off with some NFL. With that, we're going to provide an update to Deshaun Watson's case, and then we're going to talk a little bit about something that was brought up on 92.3 The Fan. So let's get right into it. Okay, so for those that were following the case, right now the update is this. The decision from the NFL could wrap up within the next month. They want to have it done by training camp for all the veterans, which starts on the 26th of this month. Okay. So we will be following that. Now, with regards to that, 3 weeks ago, what I also want to put out there is that it was found out as well that the massages in question and services provided were enabled by the Houston Texans and also a spa owner, right? And for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? You can check that out in the New York Times. 20 out of 24 accusers have been settled. Watson has denied any wrongdoing and said any sexual activity that happened was consensual, and you can read up on that on NFL.com. Watson has not played in the NFL since 2020, and allegations of sexual misconduct followed after his request almost 2 years ago for a trade from the Houston Texans.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought up the part that he settled. So for those that are watching, let's rewind to that comment and let's look at the fact of, yes, he did settle, but that does not mean it's an omission of guilt. That just means he did what his lawyers said to do and his team of lawyers, and they said, look, nigga, it's going to take too long. You got money to make. You still got good years as a player. Let's just knock this part out the way, and we'll worry about everything else. That's not an admission of guilt. That's just doing what your team of lawyers told you to do. That's legal what they call that? Legal advice, legal advisory. That's all that is. That's not an omission of guilt. And let's rewind even further. When the first deposition that came out that we actually still have in our possession, he asked for this to go to trial. Now, as a defendant, plaintiff, whatever you want to call it, in a court case, you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to ask for anything but a fair trial. He asked the grand jury in Houston to give him a trial. That's unprecedented because you don't hear players, criminals, anybody who's being hit with a grand jury to ask for a trial. They let it play out. So he knew this was something that he could actually beat because obviously, one, it's funny that all of this comes out after he requests a trade.
Yep.
And then after the first three big name players have left the team. First three big name players being J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, DeAndre Hopkins. So why would this not be funny? Everybody else, what's up, Kyle? Everybody else is leaving the team because they see the same shit that Deshaun Watson saw, yet Deshaun Watson is caught up in the midst of this. That reminds me of the same shit. You ever heard of the curtain call in pro wrestling, Tim?
Yeah, that was my yeah.
Okay. So that reminds me of That reminds me of the curtain call where, for those that don't know or don't follow pro wrestling, Razor Ramon and Diesel, or Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, were leaving to go to WCW.
Mm-hmm.
After a match, Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, or the 1-2-3 Kid, whatever you want to call him, and Triple H come out and say their goodbyes. A fan just happened to have a video camera handy and recorded this, and it got out. So rather than seeing this at Madison Square Garden, where it's like 20,000 people can see it, millions of people saw it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I equivalent this to, because when Razor Ramon left, when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left, you can't punish, if you're Vince McMahon, you can't punish Shawn Michaels because Shawn Michaels is the champ. So who's left? Triple H. Triple H was supposed to win King of the Ring that year.
Yep.
But instead, we get Austin 316. See how that plays out? So now in the Watson case, Watt leaves. Clowney leaves. Hopkins leaves. Watson's on his way out. Who gets caught? Watson. Why? Because he's the easiest catch. You're not going to catch your best, hate to make this sound racial, but you're not going to catch your best defensive white player on his way out, knowing he's clean as a whistle. You're not going to catch Clowney because Clowney, what you going to do? Say he been hurt too much?
Right.
And then Hopkins, you ain't never hear about Hopkins doing nothing. So who's left? Watson.
And you know what? To interject real quick, because I was gonna bring this up later, but since you have mentioned the curtain call from '96, I want to throw this out there to you real quick before we get back into Watson. So for those that may care, may not, because we do look at wrestling as well too. Did you hear about the WWE signing of Valerie Loureda?
Bruh. It's unfair.
Because I know that, we've exchanged messages about that individual. And with regards to that, her leaving Bellator and retiring.
No, she's actually going to stay with Bellator. She's going to honor her contract with Bellator.
She will honor that. Okay, so she'll honor the contract. I think she said, too, that she's thinking about walking away from it after the contract ends. That
was what I heard. She was going to honor it until it ends, and then she's going to be full-time at the Performance Center.
By way of NXT, baby. So what's your thoughts, man?
What's the other chick name? The little chick that be doing the splits and putting her butt in everybody's face as a pin. It's going to be the Bubble Butt Twins as a tag team.
Oh, Lord. It's about to be all bad, man.
Man, did you see? And here's the thing that bothers me. It don't really bother me. I just find it interesting.
It is interesting.
Out of all the pictures that they find of her to use, they use everything sexy of her. Literally. Her at the Heat game. Look that up. Her at the Heat game.
Oh,
her in the little dress. That's all they picked up. They didn't find nothing of her training. They didn't find nothing of her beating somebody up. It's all her being sexy.
Right. Like not even her and her like cage matches. Her
here's the thing. Stuff. Here's the thing. With all the shit they got going on right now, why would you use those pictures? Well, all the shit Vince is going through right now, the company's all the investigations, why would you use that shit?
Sexual investigations, and then you're going to use sexual innuendos.
Why would you pick them? Why would you pick those? You couldn't pick a picture of her sitting with the family. Nothing. All right.
Her dad helping him out with his, classes. He teaches Taekwondo.
Nothing. You pick everything but the normal.
Man, something. I mean, even her at a training facility trying to like roll with her sister or something like that. Actually training. Like, crazy.
Yeah. My mic caught that.
Yeah, Tim. I dare you to follow her. I dare you to follow her. On IG. I dare you.
Oh, he will.
IG, Twitter, Twitch.
He will. He will.
He let me get all the media.
Don't worry. He gonna find it.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. And them the pictures that they use for the press release.
I seen it. I ain't seen it.
Yeah. There you go.
Now don't get too distracted.
The cheats.
But yeah, man, since you had mentioned it, I'm gonna throw it out there right now just so we can kind of get into it. I'm like WWE
any day.
Man.
Tim over here wilding.
Yeah. But I try to want to throw it out there real quick, man, before we get back into what you was talking about with 923.
Oh, yeah. Glad you said that. Our good friend, a good Collinwood brother, Earl Malden over at 92.3. You've heard him a couple times, I'm sure. He brought up something that was very interesting, and I'm gonna read it. I brought this up on 92.3 The Fan Thursday. At this point, I do not believe Deshaun Watson should face a suspension at all based on the facts. And he highlighted it. Never mind a suspension at all based on the facts. Never mind 2 grand juries not having evidence to indict him, because we all know the NFL doesn't care about criminally charged or not. I'm looking at the fact that the NFL drugged this thing out for 18 months. That's a year and a half. And presented the weakest case I have ever seen. No evidence of violence, that's 1. No threats, that's 2. No coercion or force, that's 3 or 4. No new damning evidence that, and even admitted to both lack of investigation into the owners and that, yes, they want to hand down the most unprecedented punishment that goes beyond anything agreed upon in the NFL CBA. Let me wait. Yep, there we go. Former judge and current independent arbitrator Sue Robinson, I believe, is having none of that. I get the optics put people in their feelings, but the facts should definitely lead. And due to the facts, no suspension is warranted. And I agree. So shout out to Earl, because he's the only one. He's one of the few. He's one of the few in sports media outside of this show and the show on Redline that I'm not going to mention right now because they was gloating about how they took over the studio last Wednesday. Shout out to Kyle and George. But he's one of the few in sports media that has obviously taken the road not taken and looked at the facts. And those are the facts. Where was the rape kits? Where was the police reports? Where was anything of evidence leading to sexual assault, sexual misconduct? Because what we found out, there were text messages exchanged between several of the masseuses and Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
And several text messages exchanged between each of the masseuses, because apparently they know each other.
Yep.
Or know of each other. And they all said damn near the same thing. I hope he don't pick nobody else. Okay. That's interesting. Now, not to mention, the guy who's the lawyer in this case defending the women happens to live in the same neighborhood as the Texans owner. So basically, mainstream sports media is just going to bypass that part because that's fact. They do live in the same neighborhood. These women did exchange text messages with Deshaun Watson and each other. And now that we come to find out, the massage parlor and the team knew about this.
Yep.
And there were 9 disclosure agreements signed. That's what an NDA means. That means shut the fuck up.
Basically.
For those who don't know. It means once you sign that, shut the fuck up. So if all of this is in play, why is Watson getting so much heat and the facts are laid out for everybody? You can all, if you don't, let me rewind. I am not condoning anything sexually violent or misconduct or harassment against women. Let me be clear on that. But when you make false allegations and you get investigated by 2 separate grand juries, a police department, and your job, which is the NFL, and you clear all of them, who's lying?
Mm-hmm.
Who's lying? This man was bold enough to sit there and ask the grand jury for a trial. What criminal do you know, Tim, Smooth? What criminal do you know gets indicted by the grand jury and asks for a trial?
None. They don't even want to go to trial.
Right. They wait for that shit to play out. How many judges we got to pay off?
Right.
Because that's what the grand jury is, a group of judges waiting to get a seat at the Supreme Court. So you got all of this evidence or lack thereof. You clear 2 grand juries. You clear a year-long NFL investigation and a 6-month-long police investigation in Houston. And if you know anything about Houston, Texas, you know if you're black and you get into any kind of trouble, you may not make it through the night without getting arrested.
Right. They're not going to just let you walk.
And this man cleared all of that. So I'm going back to my original question. I agree with Earl, but who's lying? And the only reason he settled was because we all know with logic, those of us with logic, we all know if he go to trial with all 24 of these women, it's going to take about a good 3-4 years to clear this.
Yeah, he'll never see the NFL again just trying to make these cases go away.
So, yeah, Tyree, I know we on a bye week, bro. I just said that if you was watching. Knuckleheads. But, yeah, like, just... It makes no sense. This is why I agree with Earl, because you and I and they're talking about Ball's team. We've been looking at this from a factual standpoint. We happen to actually get the first deposition, which was good for us because we actually sat down and read it. But for those that just heard it and went with it, why didn't y'all just look at the facts? The facts was there. The facts are still there.
Yeah, or here's one for you. Put yourself in that position, right? Or somebody that you know is close to you and say, okay, well, what if your best friend or your family or whoever was in that same scenario? You know they haven't done anything, and all of a sudden these things happen to them. Would you just automatically be like, yeah, he did it? Right. Or would you kind of look at it and go, let me see how this plays out, or let me actually, think to the timeline of what's happened from start to finish, and if this even makes sense in the first place. Because a lot of people like to just see stuff on social media or hear about it in the news and just believe it right away without actually doing any kind of deep diving at all, and just accept it because the majority is telling you to, or the majority is leaning one way. That's like a sheepish thing to do anyway, but
Very sheepish.
I'm going to let that go. But
that's like people saying the Titanic hit an iceberg and went down, not realizing after 100 years later, collecting evidence that there was a fucking fire that weakened the hull. And when they hit the iceberg, it doomed the ship.
Yeah.
So you just took what you originally found out 100 years before and then still don't believe that they actually picked up a piece of the hull and found burn images on that part of the hull. And you're just like, oh, that was the iceberg.
The iceberg was so cold that it was hot.
Right. That don't even make sense. Like, who believes that?
Right.
It was a liquid nitrogen iceberg.
Yeah, that would make total sense.
Yeah, man.
Well, man, but that's the thing that just bothers me. Like, how do you go about that? And then when the facts are still there, and the facts are presented to everybody, and you can go look this shit up, you still go with that. Like, I get it. I totally get it. It's got to do with women. You're trying to protect our women. I'm not against protecting our women. What I have a problem with is when there's allegations and there's accusations out there with no evidence. And then the evidence that is found tells a different story.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I have the problem. They say he did this. He made him do this. All right. Where's the evidence? Because the evidence that's there, which are the text messages and the non-disclosure agreements, say you knew what was going on. You communicated with the other masseuses and him, and everything in there says it was consensual. But you're saying he made you do something.
Exactly. And it's one of those things, too, where, like we said before, we don't condone the actions at all in general, right? At the same time, it's one of those topics or one of those things that, can be sensitive, but also one that tends to always lead one way when it comes to the court, right? So you have stuff like that, any cases involving like, hearings for child custody or, stuff that is like that. It's going to usually lean one way, right? And it's just one of those scenarios. So, we'll see how it plays out, and we'll keep covering it and kind of go from there. But we just always ask people to just, look at the facts and not just take things for face value.
Right, because if you take it for face value and it comes out that he literally has already beaten the case on more than one occasion, then what? Then what? Literally the only reason he settled was because he listened to his lawyers. There is no other way around that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
For
the
sure.
only reason. I honestly believe he would have took years to fight this.
No,
I'll leave it at that. But that just
no, you good, man. You good. But with that, let's go ahead and move into baseball, right? So the Cleveland baseball team, also known as the Guardians, they are currently in a doubleheader with the Yankees today due to a rainout that was postponed in their matchup from yesterday.
and the last I checked, they were down 4-2 with Jimenez on base. I don't know how that went,
I don't
but
either, but we'll see, man. And then you figure game 2 will kick off at 6:10. Now, speaking of which, though,
good
they're
luck.
currently a game and a half out of first place in the Central, right, with the Twins being up top. And depending on how they do this weekend, they could go into first. So
No, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Right now, it ain't happening because right now, top of the 7th, Yankees are up 8-2.
Yeah. So we can scratch that idea, but there's always hope. Keep hope alive.
Hey, look, I got hope, but against the Yankees, it's not happening.
Especially not this season.
Yankees is the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
You know what? Before you go any further, I want to throw this out there.
All right, go ahead.
The Indians, Guardians, the Cleveland team was doing pretty good. They won 13 of their last 16, which is fucking amazing in baseball. But they ran into a problem in that stretch. After that stretch, they ran into Boston. And the problem that you have with Boston is Boston has better pitching than you overall.
Yep.
They have more than one ace and more than one closer that they can go to. So when you were on a hot streak, but you happened to run into the best pitching team in the American League. That was the first problem. The second problem was you had a series of 5 games. 2 were makeup games.
Yep.
With the team that you're chasing. So you win 3 out of 5 there. And then you go into a weekend series with the best team in baseball. That's not fair.
Not looking too good there.
It's not. But honestly, I think if this game went last night, I think the Indian Guardians Cleveland team, I think they would have had a better shot. Because they're still riding that momentum coming off the Twins series. You're still at home, but you're facing the hottest team in baseball.
And then you got to pull a doubleheader today and a game tomorrow.
Man, that's unfair. That's
a lot of baseball in 48 hours, man.
That's a lot of baseball, period. It's fucking heartbreaking. You just did that with the Twins.
Yeah, you did. With a day off. So that's what it is. But
matter of fact, don't even go home. Just sleep at the stadium. We're gonna pull out some.
Don't even go nowhere. Just lay right on the field.
Right
in the dugout, just sleep.
Throw one of them mosquito things on the.
Lay your head in the end zone.
This guy. But outside of that, I'm with you. If they can keep pace in the division, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
So your problem comes when you go fucking seeing the best teams on your side of the league in back-to-back series almost, because you literally didn't have a break from the AL East at all. You saw Boston and they swept you. Then you came back, saw your division rival in the Twins, and then right after that, you see the goddamn Yankees. Like, you did not have a break. Normally, you get a break in between those series.
True.
So, I'm with you in the sense that as long as they can keep pace with Minnesota, they have a shot. But if you got to see the Yankees in the playoffs, you might as well just go home.
Right. Don't even try. But with that, I mean, they are currently 39-34, which honestly I didn't even expect right now. Like you said, them winning 13 out of 16, they were doing not so well at all prior to that. So it was cool to see that, come up at least for a little bit, right? Now, the thing is, I'm trying to figure out how it's going to play out for them. I know they have to, deal with the likes of the Yankees or the Red Sox, Twins, and some others. But something I wanted to talk about too is the current state of where they are, what they potentially could do, and some issues. So the thing that jumped out to me the most, Mel, was the current state of the pitching staff. And primarily, I kind of want to touch upon Tristan McKenzie. Because right now he's 4-6. He's got an ERA of 4.03 after 80 innings pitched.
God damn.
Yeah, because he's already been sent down a few times, especially last season as well. He's not really as hot as he was like when he first got picked up. And
you know why that was. You know why that was.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew him.
No, nobody did. But now it's like, what do you do with him right now? Because, I mean, do you see him making a turnaround? Do you see them keeping him? Like, I'm kind of like lost on him right now.
I do. And here's the thing. You got Bieber, Savali, who's up and down, but he's still a decent, I won't say ace, but I'll say he's a decent jack.
Yeah.
And then you have McKenzie. McKenzie, in his first 2 years, has been decent. His problem is it's all up here. It's literally all up here. You're he's 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah, 6'5", 170.
You're a beanpole. You know who else was a beanpole? Randy Johnson. And the fucker was damn near 7 feet.
Man, that dude is scary.
Do you know how scary that is when you can actually control your pitches?
Yep.
And the pitch is not coming to you until damn near halfway down the pipe, as they say. Like that was what made Randy Johnson so good. Like you knew he was fucking tall. That pitch is not coming out from way back on the mound. That pitch is coming. He's damn near off the mound when that pitch is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that. There are not a lot of over 6'3", 6'4" pitchers. A lot of these guys are 6'6", 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", maybe 6'3" nowadays. Randy Johnson was 6'9". He was 3 inches away from 7 feet.
And a lefty.
And a left-handed pitcher at that. That's scary. Because that ball comes out. For those watching, if you've ever seen Michael Vick, if you've ever seen Randy Johnson, hell, if you ever watched Ken Griffey Jr., when they throw the ball, it's a different spin. I promise you it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. It comes out weird. You don't know if it's going this way or that way. If McKenzie can get out of his own head, and I'm not saying that in a bad way because being in the big leagues is a whole lot different from being in the minor league system. If he can get his confidence back and it stays and he can get out of his own head, I promise you that boy going to be scary. So then you have
mention that.
Yeah, then you have Bieber, Ali, and McKenzie. That's a 3-way split between Bieber getting 20 wins, Savali maybe getting 13 or 14, and McKenzie right behind him getting 10, 11, maybe 12. That's defense right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I wanted to, throw out there real quick because I'm like, just their current state. I mean, yeah, they got a lot against them as far as some other teams, but, I'm glad that we're able to kind of talk more about that because, it's hard because with baseball, of course, for those that, follow it hard, of course, you have what you see on screen, what you see in person, obviously. And then there's this big push for the stats because baseball is very heavy on the stats, So you see it, you go, oh, man, that's what we're looking at. But things can always turn around. And with them only being, just over, 70-something games into the season, there's still time. So it's good to see that. And I'm glad that you brought that point up.
And to throw this out there, I keep playing him. I keep starting him. I know Terry wants to send the guys down to get work in the minor leagues, which is good for their confidence to come back up. But in this scenario, me personally, I feel like he's not going to learn anything pitching against guys he's better than.
Yeah.
Make him stay up here. Tell him to get his shit together. Like there's a scene in what was that? Major League, Back to the Minors, where Gus Cantrell tells Rube Baker, who was actually an Indian to a movie ago, he tells Rube Baker, if he don't get his shit together, he's gonna send him back home because he couldn't get his throw. He started throwing back out to left field again, like he did when he first got to the Indians. So I make him stay up. I keep throwing him out there. At some point, you gotta learn.
Yeah.
You're gonna see Aaron Judge. Okay, big fucking deal. The dude's a mountain. You know what happens to mountains in certain instances? They crumble too. So I throw him out there. Look, do the best you can. You already know how Aaron Judge is. Aaron Judge is gonna force you to throw into his power.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you do to that? You chin check him. And I hate to say that, but that's the only way you get a big motherfucker like that off the plate. They used to throw at Albert Bell. You know what Albert Bell used to do? He used to knock people the fuck out.
Yeah.
So, in this scenario, I keep him out there. I'm not sending him back down to the minors no more. You staying. You're going to get this shit together like you did your first 2 years, and then we're going to be riding this into the playoffs. Because, let's face it, the Twins do not have a very good pitching staff. That series against Cleveland proved that. You know why? Because every time you were supposed to close the game out, the Indians end up coming back in walk-off fashion.
Mm-hmm.
It took 2 games in comeback fashion against the Twins. That's not something you're supposed to let happen. So, Tristan, get your shit together. You're going back out there. Make it work.
Yes. And then the next thing we'll look at, man, is NBA. Right. So some I want to jump into first, before commercials and all that and break. Let's talk about free agency first. Okay. So the Cavs
because I knew you was going to bring this up. This is exactly why I'm laughing.
Man, they are.
Kobe Altman is a fucking genius. I'm saying it.
It's amazing what they're
Kobe
doing.
Altman is a fucking genius.
So for those that aren't aware, Darius Garland has signed an extension for 5 years, which could be worth up to $331 million. Largest deal in team history, right?
Very happy. I'm happy for him. He got paid.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in the midst of that, I know Mel had hit me up and told me that they brought back Rubio, and I did see it. They signed him for a 3-year deal. So that's cool because he had some really good, time with us and was kind of like getting everything kicked off before his ACL.
He was making he was going to be comeback player of the year.
Oh, absolutely, hands down, like not even close. You know what I mean?
I think he helped Garland get his game together too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. Oh, it's and seeing him two back is like
broke my heart when he went down with the ACL, and it's the same knee.
Yeah,
that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Hey, Cleveland Clinic, stop fucking around. Get this man back together.
For sure, man. And like just seeing them two, back in it is like, okay, this is great. This is the scenario I was looking for. I'm glad it happened. And of course, he's a professional. He got traded just for that little bit. And they bring him back in because they know that he's worth it.
Wait, stop right there. Stop right there. This is why I said Kobe Altman was a fucking genius. That's exactly why. When Rubio went down, we as people who are fans of basketball, the air went out of the balloon. We all know that. I'll admit that. I'm the first person to admit. I'm like, fuck, we lost Ricky Rubio. Now what the fuck we gonna do?
Yep, same here.
He traded Rubio because his contract was ending anyway, and I didn't find that out till I read the report. I didn't realize his contract was ending when he tore his knee up. So he traded Rubio because his contract was ending, got Garris LeVert, and then he brings back Rubio.
Mm-hmm.
That's a chess move if I've ever seen one.
Yeah,
and you get it, and you get Rubio at a discount rate. You still keep you still got Garland. You still got Sexton. You have a hell of a fucking team right now, and JB Bickerstaff can get that team in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, they can.
And
Yeah,
this
they
is
can.
why, and this is why I told people don't even get rid of Sexton because now you got a bench. Think about that. Now you got a bench. You got Rubio. You got Love. You got both the Mobleys, or is it the Allens? Is it the Mobleys or the Allens? Okay, you got both Mobleys now. So think about that. You got brothers on the team.
And I believe I've seen something that we got Robin Lopez.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, got Lopez.
I was bringing that up too. Yeah, they got a 1-year deal for Robin Lopez.
You got the best balanced team in the NBA, literally.
And that'll take some pressure off of Allen.
Man, they'll take pressure off of anybody under 3 years in the league. Fuck Allen. You taking pressure off of any motherfucker on the team under the age of 25.
Yeah.
Like literally, Kobe Altman is a fucking genius. He played his hand and he told the NBA, "I'm not fucking around."
And they signed another guard too, Raul Neto.
Dude, he literally just said, "I'm not fucking around. Fuck LeBron. Sorry, LeBron, but it's the way it is. You left, not us."
And he ain't coming back now. They got that shored up. So you figure you got Raul Neto and Rubio, right? They're going to play back up to Sexton, Garland, or they might just mix that up a little bit, however they want. You got Robin Lopez now, Jared Allen, of course, the Mobleys. It's looking real nice, man. And then, of course, LeVert's still around, too.
And think about this. And this is why I said don't trade Sexton, because put this in your mind for those watching. Put this in your mind. If you're a real basketball fan, remember back in the 90s when the Bulls had the fucking super team that nobody called a super team, where he had Pippen, Jordan, Rodman, Harper, Grant, Long, Kerr, BJ Armstrong. Now, fast forward 20 some odd years later, you got Garland, Sexton, Allen, Mobley, LeVert, Love, Rubio, Neto,
and Lopez.
And Lopez. Imagine if Garland and Sexton get their shit together over the summer and all the way up to October, and they can play as a unit like this. Oh, that Central Division gonna be a bad motherfucker.
Yep. And speaking of which, since you brought that up, because you know we gotta talk about that. The Bulls, right? They give the max contract to Levine, so that went down. Of course,
He deserves it.
But see, there's a lot of moves happening in the East, man. So
because they tired of Golden State shit. I'm tired of that.
They are. And check this out: Jalen Brunson goes to the Knicks.
Good move for him. He need to be in a spot where he can flourish.
So there's that.
They flourish in New York.
Now here's another one for you. Andre Drummond is now with the Bulls as well.
And you know what? That don't surprise me.
Man.
That don't surprise me in the slightest bit. And here's why. The Bulls have historically, I'm not going to say within the past 5 years, but historically, the Bulls have been known for defense. They just can't shoot worth the shit.
No.
And that was Boston's problem in the finals. You're trying to play somebody else's game. Nigga, play your game. You play defense. If you play when who's the coach for the Cavs that Brown got rid of for Ty Lue?
Black.
Okay, yeah. When they had Black, they were the top defensive team in the league.
They were.
If Kyrie and Love don't go down that year, that the first year they go to the finals, I guarantee you, and Draymond Green has gone on record for saying this. If the Cavs don't, if they don't get KD after 2016, they don't beat the Cavs. You know why? Because defense is still king in sports.
Oh
You
yeah,
can't win a game without playing defense.
Yeah, and even without, here's crazy about that. Even without Kyrie, that still was a 4-2 series.
Right. So imagine if he was playing that series.
Yeah, they would have won that.
They don't win.
I feel like if we had either Kevin or Kyrie, we might win that series. Either one of them. If we have both of them, we win it definitely. But I feel like if we had one of them,
if we have both of them, we have a 3-peat. I promise you.
Yeah, for sure.
Because as much as LeBron won't admit it, not openly anyway, he'll probably admit this to his wife. But when David Blatt was there, they had defense. They were outscoring opponents in the third and fourth quarter.
Yep.
Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the defense. And when they got to the finals, weren't they the number 1 seed? Or close to it? So, Bickerstaff is the same way. If he can get his team together offensively, the defense is there. It's been shown.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was when they got to the play-in tournament, you had to keep up with scoring against Atlanta and Brooklyn.
And you had a hurt Allen.
Yeah, now you got that. You got an offense and you got guys on that team that can play defense.
You forgot marketing too.
Damn, I forgot. Yeah, that nigga still on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. You got a complete team. You literally have if Bickerstaff plays this right, you have literally the most complete team in the NBA. And that's scary because there isn't a complete team. You either got defense or you got scoring. So you got to take your pick.
The Bucks.
Did they win last year? Did they win this past?
They lost a piece.
Yeah, there you go.
They just lost a piece though.
Yeah, they lost one.
But I'm saying, did their defense hold up to get them back to defend the title?
No.
Yeah,
there you go.
Didn't. But they lost a big piece though.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You got. I'm not gonna say you got to realize it, but this is the trend of sports now. You either want to be one or the other. You can't be balanced anymore because apparently being balanced is taboo. So you either want to be the Warriors and shooting the shit out of the lights, or you want to be the Heat playing defense. Now you can do both if you're the Cavs.
That's true too.
You literally do both. I can block all your shit in the lane, or I can shoot the lights out too, because Garland and Sexton can actually shoot. If they take the time at practice to get accurate, this shit gonna be scary. What did you say? What did Justin
say? He made a point. He said Middleton's gone. They don't have him anymore. They didn't have Middleton. So
yeah. Well, there you go.
That makes sense too, right? And then in addition to that, a couple other moves I'm gonna throw out there, and then we'll talk about some contracts. So like JaVale McGee goes to Dallas. That's another move that happened. Who else?
If you're the Warriors, that's kind of a stupid move, though.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. And then Gary Payton II goes to Portland. So he's there.
Oh, he's in Portland now.
Yeah, Portland.
Didn't somebody say don't nobody want to play in Portland?
There's some players going to Portland right now. So it's going to look a little weird, man, all these changes.
KD said that too.
Man, I have no faith in KD at all, no more.
Yeah, I kind of wonder where he's going to end up because his trade request. So
he's going to end up back in Texas at the university.
Coaching.
No, he gonna enroll back as a player under somebody else's name.
Oh man. And then there were two big contracts that happened. So Nikola Jokic has signed the biggest contract so far. 5 years, $270 million with the 20 pieces, who I like to call the Denver Nuggets. And that just occurred.
That's definitely a money move.
Yeah, for sure. And then Karl Anthony Towns is going to stay with Minnesota in the midst of Rudy Gobert being traded from Utah to Minnesota. So now you got Gobert and you have Karl Anthony Towns, which means Karl Anthony Towns does not have to play center.
That's true.
That's going to be awesome.
They gave up a lot for that, though.
They did. But I think it'll let Towns shine a little bit more. I feel like he was being held back a little bit, having to just be in the paint like that, because he has actual skill. So we'll have to see how that plays out with Gobert, which actually adds a big defensive component to their game as well, because Gobert is very defensive. So I don't know, man. It's gonna look a lot different.
Defense in the West, though, not no more.
Yeah,
they played defense since Shaq and Duncan was there.
Oh, yeah, for that, yeah.
But here's why I have a problem with. I don't agree with the Jokic's move because you were fine where you were. To me, you were fine exactly where you were. You didn't have to go to Denver. Huh? Nicola? You said Joseph, right?
Yeah.
The Joker.
To
Been in the Nuggets.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I might not have paid attention to that. Honestly, to a degree, I stopped paying attention after the Warriors won. Like it's once the Warriors won, I'm just like fuck basketball. I'll wait till next season. Oh, while we on the subject of moves, I wanted to throw this out there just because for those that didn't read it, those that did read it, those that came across it, UCLA and USC decided they're going to take their talents to the Big Ten.
Oh my gosh.
Now, while logically this is not a good move, and logistically, geographically, whatever you want to call it, this is not a good move because you got to pay a shitload of money to go to Michigan, Ohio, California, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. It's going to be cold as fucking Wisconsin, and Minnesota. I think this was a smart move on those two schools' parts. Reason being, now you automatically, by default, become the best conference when it comes to basketball.
Yep, basketball definitely took a good turn for that.
You already were the best conference in football. I don't care. Argue with your mama. But you were already the best conference in football because for those that don't, or for those that are going to argue with me about this some way at some point, outside of Alabama, who's been the most consistent college football team in the college football playoff era? It ain't been Clemson. It's been Ohio State. And the proof is there. Shows you how much I'm serious about what I'm saying and I'm sticking by it. After what, 20 years? Michigan's finally getting a win against Ohio State? Yeah. On top of that, football-wise, Ohio State arguably has one of the tougher schedules in the country every year. Because the teams that you think are cupcakes in the Big Ten usually end up stunning somebody somewhere somehow. Being Wisconsin, Minnesota, who actually got our show started, Penn State, Michigan State. On top of that, now we possibly get to see one of the most quiet rivalries in college football in the Big Ten championship starting in 2024. That being Ohio State and USC. Because traditionally that was a Rose Bowl rivalry where the agreement from the CFA a long time ago was Big Ten representative, Pac-10 representative, or Pac-12, whatever it is. Big Ten, Pac-12, they meet in the Rose Bowl. That was it. Ain't nobody else been at the Rose Bowl outside of the BCS era. It's usually Big Ten, Pac-10. I wonder how they're going to do the divisions now, but honestly, I think this was a good move.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a big up for basketball. For football, it does have some interesting matchups. I feel like it definitely changes things up when it comes to like time zone coverage, TV contracts, and whatnot. So that'll be interesting as well too.
I forgot about the TV part because the Pac-12 network doesn't exist.
Nope. And then with Big Ten having their own network too, in addition to what they can land locally, you figure
ESPN.
See some late Ohio State games being played at 9 p.m.
Hey, I would if Ohio State goes to USC or UCLA and they got to play at 9, I would stay up to watch that.
And that's the difference, right? Because you don't have that right now.
You got Pac-12 after dark,
right? And nobody is watching that like that unless you're an Oregon fan. So
I'm not staying up to watch Arizona and Arizona State go at it.
Nope, absolutely not.
I'm sorry. That's not – maybe back in 1993, 94, 95, that would have been a game I stay up to watch.
Yeah.
But now that's not a game I want to see. I want to see – let's look at Ohio State's schedule. We ain't even got to pull it up. Ohio State's first game this year is against Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman's first big game and first game as head coach officially, because he was interim last year.
Yep.
So, and Marcus Freeman is a Buckeye. So there's the let's throw out Marcus Freeman for a second. This is a rivalry game. The last time Ohio State lost to Notre Dame was in 1936. They had not seen Notre Dame again until 1995 when Notre Dame came to the Horseshoe. That's how pissed off Notre Dame was for beat. Well, that's how long and how pissed off Ohio State was for losing to Notre Dame. After 60 years, they said, you know what? Fuck it. Oh, you come to us, we come to y'all. We're gonna beat the shit out of y'all too. And they did both games. And then you saw them again in what was it? The Fiesta Bowl, where AJ Hawk married Brady Quinn's sister, and she had on the split jersey because she didn't know who to root for.
Man, that was one of the sickest jerseys though.
It was. But Notre Dame took an ass whooping then. Notre Dame has a 2-4 record against Ohio State. Think about that. One of the most storied college football program in history has a losing record against Ohio State. That's already telling you how big games are with Ohio State. So imagine what happens when USC comes to play Ohio State or UCLA comes to play Ohio State in a 3:00 game.
Man.
And Ohio State ain't played, if I'm not mistaken, Ohio State ain't played UCLA since Freddie Mitchell was there.
Yeah, they ain't played. I mean, I don't even remember last time they even touched the field together.
That was the last time that I believe. I think that was what, 98, 99, something like that.
That's a long time.
Freddie Mitchell was playing.
Man.
So think about that, folks. The money's there. The TV revenue's there. The Big Ten, money-wise, is about to shit on the SEC. I'm sorry. For those who are SEC fans, it's the truth. You got Alabama, Georgia, and everybody else in the SEC. At least with the Big Ten. You got Ohio State, you got Michigan, you got Penn State, and in 2024, you'll now have USC, UCLA. They are shitting on the SEC in terms of money and in terms of popularity. Nick Saban ain't going to be there forever. So What's going to happen when he leaves?
When he retires, what's going to be different? What's going to happen?
It's going to be just Georgia then, I promise you. And I'm not even a Georgia fan. I'm looking at the reality. Kirby Smart's a hell of a lot younger than Nick Saban. Nick Saban's in his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He got more money than he know what to do with. The NCAA is in trouble now. The whole entire NCAA is shitting right now because they are scared of what these conferences are about to do.
Yep. And one more point I'll throw out there before we do cut the break. So, what do you feel Arch Manning going to Texas does for the Big 12?
For Texas, it's a game changer. For the Big 12, not a goddamn thing. Because you got to remember, Texas and Oklahoma still plan on leaving within the year.
Yeah, and they're going to
the SEC to get beat on.
Now, I kind of wonder how that changes, though, with Arch Manning going there, what that does for the program. I think it helps Texas a lot.
It does. It helps a lot. You got Peyton Manning's son. Yeah, you got Peyton Manning's son playing for Texas. And he already said, it's been shown, when Archie was at Ole Miss.
Yep.
They interviewed, when he got drafted to the Saints, I believe, they interviewed Peyton, and Peyton said he wanted to be like his dad. Turns out that was a lie. He doesn't want to be like his dad. He wants to go to Tennessee. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Eli went to Ole Miss.
Yep.
And shattered his dad's records, which is fine. It's still a Manning in the record book. But Arch is not Peyton. He's not Eli. He's not even Archie. He's his own man. He already said, I want to make my own legacy. You can make that at Texas.
And you're going to start that first year.
Yeah. And you are going to be a lot better than the last two quarterbacks that they've had. So, for the school and recruiting purposes, this is great. You got a big name kid, 5-star recruit coming. For the Big 12, it's not going to mean nothing because they're gone after this year. Is it this year or next year? One of the two. They're gone. They're 1 foot and 1 arm is already out the door.
Yeah, I want to say they'll be in the SEC when Manning's there.
Oh, yeah. And here's my question for that. When you get to the SEC, how do you out-recruit the state of Nick Saban? Because that's exactly what the SEC is right now. It's the state of Nick Saban. You have to compete. You don't have to compete with Vanderbilt. You don't have to compete with Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina. You got to compete with Alabama and Georgia in terms of recruiting. Florida ain't even up there no more.
No.
So you have to compete with those two schools. How are you going to do it? And you're traditionally a Southwestern conference. Literally. You control from Oklahoma all the way to Arizona. How do you change that? The style of play is totally different. You saw it in bowl games throughout the 90s, throughout the 2000s. You as a conference don't do well against a different style of play than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Think about those games where go back, the 1999 Sugar Bowl. Dante Hall, best running back in the country, not named Ricky Williams or who was that back there? Well, I guess it was Ricky Williams at the time. But you see Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl and they beat the shit out of you. Texas Tech comes in 2002. You get the shit kicked out of you. You go to Ohio State. You win one at Ohio State. Ohio State comes back the next year, beats the shit out of you. When the style of play changes, you're in trouble. So how do you go to the SEC where you're a pass-happy conference because every quarterback that damn near leaves the Big 12 leaves with some type of NCAA passing record?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you change that? How do you adapt to a team that plays defense, is known for hurting people, especially quarterbacks, and then recruit the people you need to compete with these teams? Because I'm telling you, you've said this, I've said this. You don't have to compete with Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida, Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Rival. You got to compete. Hell, you won't even have trouble with won't have any trouble with who is that? LSU. You may get one good year against LSU where they beat you.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I wonder if Texas can make the same adjustment that A&M had to do when they moved over. Because the thing is, like right now, just seeing how the game's evolving and what's changed and, you know, what Saban has done with Alabama and with them, they were so run heavy at 1.2 and then they started throwing in a lot more. You know, Georgia had to make the same adjustment to throwing through the air a little bit more. So I think in that respect, you know, Texas will be okay offensively. Defensively,
it's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. So that's going to be the hardest thing. I'm hoping that recruiting-wise, they can get some defensive players up in there and maybe keep some of those guys that are from in-state from going over to, you know, Alabama or Georgia to be able to play. So we'll see.
Good luck with that. Because now you're going to have the same problem that Miami had.
Good point.
And matter of fact, we're going to get back to this after we come back from commercial because this is a very good topic. I want to finish this before we get into our last topic. So when we come back, we'll finish the college football talk and then we'll jump into the ice.
Lee Money here for Redline Radio and Young's Jewelry. Young's Jewelry has been creating quality jewelry since 1975. You know, when I was looking for my wife's engagement ring and even her wedding ring, Young's Jewelry is where I went. Call them today at 440-455-1026 and tell them that Red Line Radio sent you. Redline Radio LLC is proud to partner with Growing Wings Adult Services for the creation of our brand new state-of-the-art production studio. Growing Wings Adult Services has been assisting adults with disabilities in the Northeast Ohio area for the past 5 years. For more information on how Lisa and the team at Growing Wings can assist your family, you can contact Lisa at 234-334-7547 today. Again, that's 234-334-7547. If you love high-octane, pedal-to-the-metal pro wrestling action, then look no further than Red Line Pro Wrestling. Stay tuned for news coming in 2022. What's going on, everybody? Do you own your own small business? Do you want to get more advertising? Check us out at Redline Radio LLC. We are always accepting brand new sponsorships to get your business more recognition. Get a hold of Dave from Redline Radio today at 440-503-0828. Lee Money here for Redline Radio LLC. And, you know, after a long day of gambling and checking out all the shows and sites that Las Vegas has to offer, why don't you check out the saloon that has been voted the biggest hole-in-the-wall saloon for the past 2 years? Redline Radio's favorite spot to get a nice cold beverage after a long day in Vegas, the Rusty Spur Saloon. And make sure you let them know that you heard about them right here on Red Line Radio LLC. Lee Money here from the Steel City Renegades. And, maybe you're looking for a Najee Harris futures card, or maybe his NFL rookie card, or any other hard-to-find sports trading cards, or maybe just another piece of sports memorabilia. You're going to look no further than One of One Sports Cards and Memorabilia. They are located at 13221 Prospect Road in Strongsville, Ohio. Call them today at 440-638-4044, and they have all your sports cards and memorabilia needs. Again, that number is 440-638-4044. What's up, Redline Nation? Lee Money here. And, I've always been a fan of NASCAR. And one of the coolest collectibles that I always remember having when I was a kid growing up, and even when I was a teenager, was the number 3 Dale Earnhardt car. I always tried to make sure I got the new one every year when it came out, and it had to have that Intimidator logo on the side of it, just like Dale intimidated everybody on the track. And, I get all my NASCAR diecast needs from Pit Road Diecast. They are the official sponsors of not only the Scoop, but also of Steel City Renegades. So if you or your family need any diecast cars just in time for Christmas, you can call Pit Road Diecast at 216-355-2347. And of course, if you mention Redline Radio, the Scoop, or Steel City Renegades, you receive 10% off your in-store purchase. That's Pit Road Diecast, 216-355-2347.
All right, and we are back. We ended our last. We ended the part of the part of the show talking about the NCAA. But before we get any further, this part of the show is brought to you in part by All Access Realty. If you're looking for a place to stay, nice little house on the hill, call Access Realty and get in touch with Frank Sobochan at 440-391-7430. It'll get you together. All right, back to this NCAA talk because we both mentioned Miami. For those who are talking about Miami of Florida, we're not talking about Miami of Ohio. They stink. Well, they do. They ain't been decent since Ben left, and before Ben, they ain't been decent since Plies was there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wait, Sweet Puss aside?
Yeah. For those that don't know, I just threw a fact out there for y'all. Plies was a wide receiver at the University of Miami of Ohio back in 1996 and 97 before transferring back to Central Florida and dropping out to college for good to go to rapping.
Mm-hmm.
So he played every Sweet Puss aside?
Man. And without running these hoes, baby.
Man.
He take the ball, take it home. It was like criminal.
Mm-hmm. And when he spiked the ball, he was busting it, baby. But no, we were talking about how Texas and Oklahoma were going to recruit against Georgia and Alabama mostly. And this was the same problem everybody else was having in the late 80s, early 90s against Miami before Miami decided to join the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
For those that don't know, there were two Florida teams before they joined the conference that were independent, that being Miami and Florida State. Florida State ended up joining the ACC before Miami joined. I think they joined in like 90, and Miami joined the Big East in 92. So Florida State and Florida were having the issues where it wasn't a state of recruiting against Miami. It was Miami recruiting and it turning into being the state of Miami, which is what they called it in their documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning they had control over Florida. And as we all know, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia even don't have problems recruiting in Florida. They have it. They have a pipeline there. Hell, Mount Union even goes to Florida and picks players up. So if you're Texas and you're Oklahoma, how do you solve that problem trying to out recruit in those southern states? Because Ronnie, I know you're a Georgia fan, and Georgia even has issues sometimes. Not all the time, but they have issues trying to get their players to stay home.
Oh, yeah. Look at Deshaun Watson. Man, that's a Georgia guy. People forget that.
Yeah, he was. He is.
Man,
He is a Georgia guy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He is a Georgia guy. And he ended up going to Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget that before Florida State got there, guess who was literally running the ACC? It was Clemson.
Yep.
So Clemson is no stranger to dominance. They just didn't get to where they were until they got Watson. They had CJ Spiller.
Mm-hmm.
They had Artus Pinter, but they weren't winning. They weren't winning national championships. They were winning games, but they weren't winning national championships. And all that changed when Florida State got there. They were just now, how do you beat Florida State? You can't recruit in Florida because Miami's got that. And then Bobby Bowden really got the players he needed from Florida. It was now you got to compete with Florida State and Miami. So now if you're Texas and Oklahoma, you got to compete with Georgia in recruiting. You got to compete with Alabama in recruiting. And you're not beating Nick Saban at this point. Sorry.
Yep. And you know what? You bring up a great point. And it's something that Georgia had to figure out too, because they went through the same thing. I mean, they were always had decent teams. They always were like a 9-win team or something like that. Always in a bowl or whatever. They've had great players over the years. We can go through a whole list of those. But the thing is, they had to figure out how to get over that hump. And of course, between Saban being at LSU or Alabama, whatever, they had to figure out what to do about him. And their, way of doing that was getting Kirby Smart from him. And it worked in their favor because of not only what happened this past year, but then also the fact that Kirby's an alumni, that played a big part of it too. And the thing is, people don't know as well is that all those years that he was under Saban and he was at LSU and he was at Alabama, that's where a lot of the recruiting came from, was fed through Kirby. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to go out and get the guy to make it happen. Prime example, we saw Ohio State do that, right? So when they got pounced on by Florida in their national title game, what do? They
go down to Florida.
They go and they get Urban Meyer. Like, you just have to do that. So,
who's the thorn in Nick Saban's side? Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the thing is, you have to do something like that. And I think this is where the answer comes to your question. Texas has to not only recruit guys on that level of an Arch Manning and get other recruits to come with him, they also have to figure out, coaching-wise, how do you get some guys to come in that's going to help you bring in more of those recruits, or potentially have the ability to take a game or two away from a Saban or a Smart.
Yeah. And this goes with not just recruiting in the SEC. This goes because it just dawned on me, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, they'll be adding 2 new teams to the Big 12 in BYU and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke Fickell is going to have the same problem. How do I recruit in Texas? Oh, I know. Because keep in mind, I was just watching a YouTube channel. They show a whole bunch of Ohio State games from the past. Fickell is an Ohio guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he has no problem recruiting in the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the whole tri-state, quad-state area. How do you recruit in West Virginia? How do you recruit in Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico to a degree? How do you recruit in these states? You're going to have to get somebody from Texas and convince them to come bring these other guys over.
Yep, and that's the whole point. And then you got to look at who are some of your biggest adversaries in the conference that you have to go up against, right? And try to figure out where they go, who they pull from, and try to be that guy to kind of swoop in there and be like, you know what? We going to see them. You know what I'm about. You seen what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Come on over here instead. It's a vicious game, man. You got to do what you got to do.
Hey, I'm with it. I just, looking at that with USC and UCLA leaving, that opens the door for California, who has produced some of the greatest NFL talent, not just college talent.
True.
In football. It opens the door for now Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Minnesota to essentially walk through the door of California and the coastline, rather, and go get those kids.
Yeah.
Because think about it. The Samoans and the Polynesian culture, they have a controlling stake in the West Coast as far as college football is concerned. There's not a roster in the Pac-12 that does not have at least 3 Polynesian kids on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about football, pro wrestling, rugby, Polynesian kids are where it's at now. Going all the way back to Junior Seau, Vi Sikahema, all of those guys. This is going to be big for the Big Ten.
Yep.
Because think about it. Literally, how many times have you heard a kid of Polynesian culture whose name is called during a SEC game or a Big 12 game? I can't remember. So now this is going to be. It's not only a recruiting battle. This is a territory battle.
Yeah, that's true. Outside of Tua, I mean, but here's the thing, though.
And Tua didn't even. He went to Alabama, but his little brother is over at was over at Maryland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. See, so that's a difference, right? And then it'll be. I think this is also going to open up a lot of recruiting avenues for Ohio State as well. You know, because now it's like, okay, well, you got USC and UCLA come over to our conference. Do you want to go there? Or do you want to come to us? Right? Because we're going to see them. You know what I'm saying?
You want to go there and sit.
Yeah.
You want to come to us and play immediately.
Right. And then when we come to your state to play a game,
your family can see you.
Your family can see you. See, we already brainstorming it, man. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And now you're going to have some of those Polynesian kids in a Buckeye uniform.
Man,
see that?
Yeah.
That's
and
different.
And you don't hear it was one last year. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I know they had one last year. And then you haven't heard about one since Nikki Sualua.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Great fullback and blocked for many of the great running backs. George, Pearson, Wiley. He was there. So this is gonna be scary. I after 2024, I'm scared to see what the Big Ten gonna look like. Because I can only imagine what them recruiting classes gonna look. It's gonna change.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we've already seen a couple of guys already try to commit for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
As far as wide receivers, shout out to Brian Hartline.
Man,
happened. His receiving recruiting game is
immaculate.
Sick.
That boy is bad.
That's sick with it.
That man sells salt to a slug.
Right, like he bringing them all in, man. That's him.
But
give that credit where it's due.
Let's not forget, he's still quietly one of the best receivers to come out of Ohio State. So
absolutely.
And he had a stint in the NFL, so it's not like he don't know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. And he took the opportunity when it was hot, man. So shout out to him for doing so.
Man.
Seriously.
All right. Our last topic that I know this is gonna make you jump out your skin. We're gonna jump on the ice for a little bit. And the Colorado Avalanche win for the first time since the early 2000s, the Stanley Cup. But it's not the way that they won. It's not that they won. It's the way that they won. They beat the brakes off of Tampa Bay, who had just won back-to-back titles.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was putting in the pot that they was going to win the third. Even me, I thought they had a great shot. Who the fuck knew Colorado had it in them?
I know I didn't, but for looking from afar, man, you know, that was a team that I supported a while ago. And then, of course, like that's their pipeline when it comes to the minors through Cleveland as well. So, you know, that just always had, I guess, this place in my heart to be able to like still kind of follow them, even though all the greats that they've had before had gone on. But to see it happen, I was like, oh, okay. Didn't see that coming. Beginning of the season, I don't think anybody thought that was even possible.
They weren't good at the beginning of the season.
They weren't. It was more so like a, you know, put up and shut up, you know, a prove it type season, basically.
Yeah, and they did, because they beat the shit out of Tampa Bay. And I for one am perplexed, because now I'm looking at Columbus and I'm like, why the fuck can't y'all do this?
Man, Columbus is the only other issue. Oh my goodness. You know, the first mistake was when they first had joined and they put them in the same division as the Penguins. You know, that was kind of a heartbreak, because Crosby was killing them. Like
fucking Crosby, man.
Game after game after game after game. Let me tell you, that was hard. That was hard to stomach that. And you've seen him multiple times during the year. I'm like, oh,
you gotta understand too. Sidney
this game again,
Hall of Famer. He will be first.
Yeah, for sure.
He will be first ballot.
Yeah.
He at that time in his prime, he was on motherfucking Mario Lemieux's level, like unstoppable.
Thank you.
And it didn't really die down when he got older. It just, he had to play a role at that point instead of just being the leader.
Yep. And I'm glad you brought that name up because I have said that before. He was the modern day Mario Lemieux for that team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we had the pleasure of actually seeing Lemieux.
Man,
Like,
I had the pleasure of playing his game.
Yeah, like, right. I mean, that's the guy you would roll with. And that's the reason why you would pick that team.
Oh, fuck. Outside of the Kings, because the Kings had Gretzky.
Gretzky, right.
Everybody else. I as much as I love the Red Wings around that time, as much as I love the Blues, Blackhawks,
the Stars.
Right. As much as I loved all of them teams with Chelios, Lindros, Fedorov, Hall, there was no comparison to Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, and then Wayne Gretzky and the LA Kings.
Yep.
There was no comparison. Like, if you're playing Mario Lemieux hockey, you don't need to play with no other teams. You either playing with the Penguins or you playing with the Kings.
Yeah, man.
Take your pick. So but you know what? Since we're on the subject of hockey, I need to ask, because you're more knowledgeable at this than I am. Do you see any more expansion coming? Because we already see Vegas, and Vegas has done pretty well for themselves, being in the playoffs, being in the conference finals, and Vegas is not a sports town. Vegas is a gambling town.
Yeah.
And they're making it work. So are the Raiders. I just still don't agree with that move. I'd rather them stay at Oakland, but that's just me.
Right.
But they're making it work. So with the evidence of Vegas being a sports town now, do you see any more expansion in the NHL? Do you see Cleveland possibly getting an NHL team rather than an AHL team? Because there are a couple of places that have teams that are nowhere near hockey towns. Atlanta Thrashers, for one.
Yep. That's one. Nashville,
the Hurricanes.
Yeah,
in Carolina.
I never understood that when they went there, but I get it now. Let me tell you, because especially the southern states in general, y'all really go see hockey like that? Like, would you go to a hockey game? They're going. They're going to all of them. Every location we just talked about, they're going.
And it's just like when arena football was up, when the AFL was up. It was places didn't have nothing. So I understood it. Like the Cobras in Carolina, they were the only team to go. I think they went 0-16 that year. But there were people showing up to watch them.
They were showing up, man, every game, bro. And answer your question, yes, I think it'll happen. Because no matter where hockey is, man, the fandom is there, right? So, prime example. Of course, we've known about the Capitals, right? Mm-hmm. But then you look at some of the other teams that are around the area. So, like, Baltimore has quite a few. You got the Bandits, the Clippers, the Slapjacks. There's like a Chesapeake team, I believe, Icebreakers or whatever. Like, there's hockey around, and I feel like for Ohio, of course, Columbus was like the first official NHL team on record.
At the time, that was a move I didn't agree with, because you don't fucking compete with Ohio State.
You don't. And somehow it worked. You're like, wow, you're actually going to these games. Like,
yeah, and the main reason I think it worked was because Ohio State traditionally has one of the best hockey teams in NCAA hockey.
Right. So I've been to a couple of those games. I went to the one when they played against who was it? Notre Dame at OSU, man. And that was fun. I mean, they couldn't fight, but it was still fun to be in the atmosphere, man. Very exciting.
Shit. That's what hockey is for. Let them fight.
No, they won't let them fight at the college level, man. They don't allow it. It's a penalty.
You got problems with Ohio State and Michigan. Should be a universal sport rivalry. If you got on maize and blue and you see scarlet and gray, y'all should go at it at least once a game, every game.
Speaking of which,
we can do it in football. We should be able to do it in hockey.
Speaking of which, man, I'm glad you brought this up, because it's something that, hockey people that follow it would know. But that's a big difference too. Like, in certain teams that play or whatever at the college level. So prime example. What a lot of people didn't know too was, I believe, was it Finley? I want to say. I think Finley at one point was D1, D2 for hockey, even though they were like, a different division for football or whatever. And it's just stuff like that you'll see, or a lot of smaller schools who are actually involved in this game too as well, because not a lot of programs around the country that you see that have football have a hockey team. So I think that's pretty dope as well. But the following is here because of that, right? So I feel like there should be a team in Cleveland. Of course, you have, monsters or whatever. My thing is that I think that the NHL scene needs to happen. I would love to have an in-state rivalry.
We haven't cool. And that's the thing. We haven't had an NHL team since the Barons, but that was 1950.
Right. We didn't even yeah, man. Like, it's just been so long removed.
Like, our parents wouldn't even thought of. So
right.
I understand the sentiment. I just wanted to know from you, because I have been clamoring over this for at least, I'll say, the last 3 years hardcore. Like, why don't we have an NHL team?
Yeah,
people, everything else but an NHL team.
And people go to the games. They go to the Monster games.
I actually went to my first Monsters game thanks to the Guardians roller derby team. They sent me tickets. I took my son, and it was actually a great time. And it was against Pittsburgh. So if we can have a Cleveland-Pittsburgh AHL rivalry, why can't we have a Cleveland-Pittsburgh NHL rivalry?
Yeah.
The Columbus rivalry. I get it. I just want to know what the hell is taking the NHL so long to see that this could work.
I agree with you, man. I feel like with this scenario, it definitely would make for a rivalry in state as well, too, along with the different cities that we have rivalries in other games. I feel, too, that the following definitely is there. Like you said, Barons or a long while back, them bringing Columbus down. And with Columbus, what people don't realize as well, there are folks who are willing to travel from Cleveland down to Columbus just to go to these games, because they're like, oh, it's an NHL game that's in state, right? Now, if you keep it up in Cleveland, that's there, because the thing is, for our childhoods especially, right, we had the Lumberjacks, and then
I don't know
come around. Yeah, man. So the thing is, like, the following is there. People want to see it. Those games get packed out. It's not like a little situation where there's barely anybody there. They fill the arena up for those games.
And there's 3 rivalries. There's 3 rivalries I feel like to get started, because I just thought about it literally right now. Cleveland, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit.
Yep. Got to make it happen, man.
Triangle right here.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. So with the Avalanche winning the cup, who wins next year?
I'm gonna go on record and say I don't think they repeat. I'll give you that. But as far as next year, I feel like the Lightning are going to make some moves in the off season. I don't think they'll be back either. It's kind of wide open. I can definitely tell you for a fact Columbus ain't going to be there. Let me just say that out loud too. They're so wishy-washy, man. Because like one year they'll be like crazy good, and then there's an injury, and all of a sudden they lose in the first round. Right? They've been to playoffs quite a bit, so I can say that they're like knocking on the door to be more competitive, but it's just inconsistent, because once you get some guys in, they end up walking away for more money, or they're getting traded, or the coaching changes happen. Like, it's just not consistent enough, man. But like, it's hard to say. It really is hard to say. Like, we've seen teams kind of like switch their identity a little bit. I felt like with the pandemic, that changed things a lot, for certain teams. So I don't know, man. I think it's just wide open. I couldn't even give you a prediction, to be honest. But I definitely don't feel like the 2 teams we saw this year be back in there. And like I said, hometown, Columbus ain't going. But yeah, it's wide open, man.
Yeah. I hate to see what you know what?
I'm just keeping it real, man. It's funny because I can say that because even in Buckeye country, a lot of people ain't going to be mad about it. Go like, we got Ohio State. It's cool.
Buckeyes been consistent for over 100 years, so I ain't gonna argue with that.
You're right. It's just like, all right, whatever.
And the last 20 have been very good to us.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I asked that because I asked those two questions about the expansion and about who wins because I would really like to see an NHL team back in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that triangle happen because it's literally a triangle. You got Detroit up here, you got Columbus in the middle, and then you got Pittsburgh. You could make that work.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the local TV stations. ESPN has been a very big supporter of the NHL. Let's just call it what it is. They NHL Hockey Night back in the day, when hockey is big, it's big and it's consistent. And it gives you something to do over the winter months outside of basketball. I'm wondering, I don't think Gilbert would be the one to step in, but I'm wondering what rich person would step in and say, all right, let's put an NHL team in Rocket Mortgage or the Q or whatever the hell you want to call it now.
See, and I'm glad you said Gilbert because I don't think he would take it on, but it would be interesting if, somebody got in his ear at least, or make him like a partner or something,
And that's the thing. I think somebody has gotten in his ear. I just don't think he cares.
Nah, he probably
because somebody got in his ear and he ended up buying the Gladiators. The Gladiators were doing great in the Arena Football League. They were doing great. They made it to the championship, even though they got beat on. They made it.
Mm-hmm.
They sell out every game or sold out every home game.
True.
Or tops in attendance for the duration that they were here. It's just, I don't think he wants to take on another team.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then trying to work out the logistics with the Cavs and trying to figure out like, okay, well, here's these games here, and then here's the, times I need the arena for the ice to be ready for the other games. Like that could probably be a little bit of a challenge.
With that, my thing is, if Detroit can do it, if Pittsburgh can do it, well, Pittsburgh doesn't have a basketball team, but if Detroit can do it, if the Islanders can do it, if
Atlanta
plays in the arena with, they do. So if Atlanta can do it, if Dallas can do it, why can't the Cavs and somebody else in the NHL team do it?
Yeah. And then the thing is, we know owners talk. So it's like, look, man, you can definitely get some insight and hit up one of them and be like, how are y'all doing this right now? What's the logistics look like? Get you a real good facilities manager and just kind of go from there, man, and figure it out.
Speaking of facilities, I'm glad you brought this up because, hey, we were talking about hockey, but this actually came up in the news. I was sent the article about the Browns getting a new stadium. Now, I didn't want to end it on this, but we're probably not going to end it on this. But what logistically, does it make sense? And I'm asking you this from a fan standpoint because I'm not looking at this from a business standpoint just yet.
Yeah.
From a fan standpoint, would you like to see a new stadium for the Browns?
As a fan, yes.
Why?
I think with that, what it does is, of course, there's no guarantee that they would make it all the way. With Watson, there's a possibility or a hope there. But to see that happen, and let's say you see it in your new stadium, that would be dope. They would definitely be able to host a Super Bowl and other events like that. Because right now we saw the success of what they were able to do when they hosted the draft. That was pretty cool. I thought I would never see that come to Cleveland ever.
Who thought? Nobody thought that shit was gonna happen.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like Cleveland had all these events for like 4 years back to back. You got that, had the All-Star game for MLB. You had the NBA. Then you had like Final Four situation for NCAA. Like all that was in 4 year span. It was just great, right?
Yeah, that was actually fantastic.
And seeing how they pulled off the draft, I'm like, well, okay, well, places like Minnesota, places like Detroit, because you have domes, they were able to host those games. And had we had a dome, we could have done that too and brought that, to the city to be able to experience, right?
Right.
So I feel like from a fan perspective, that'd be cool. Like I said, I'm gonna leave the business side out of it because I know what that's gonna look like in terms of taxation on the city,
Oh man,
and
you
people that
know that
live there and all of that.
that's coming.
But
You
as a
know that's
fan, right, that's coming for sure, right? But as a fan, yeah, that would be pretty cool to see.
all right. I'm a roll with you on that one, but I'm gonna speak on this from the business side of it.
Yeah, and it's where it gets ugly.
No, this is not where it gets ugly, to be honest. For me, thinking about this, and I've had time to think about this,
Okay.
this makes sense. The problem is, where do you put it? Me personally,
Yeah.
since they took no, hear me out. Me personally, since they took the fucking Cleveland Grand Prix away, because I actually did love going to the Cleveland Grand Prix.
Yep, that was fun.
I put that shit right on fucking Lakefront Airport. I would buy the airport, plow that shit over, and put it right there. Why? Because it's not built over sacred ground, which is Old Municipal Stadium,
Yep.
and you still have parking there. You could actually turn the old stadium into another parking lot because you still got municipal parking lot. You got that punk ass parking lot that's under the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's right next door. I wouldn't put it anywhere else. I just put it right there because logistically, it's in a walking distance. You can take public transportation to get there.
Yep.
It makes sense. You can still tailgate and I have to go an hour to the game, whatever. And then think about all the business you can bring in. Not just the Super Bowl, but concerts.
Mm-hmm.
If MetLife can host a WrestleMania, I'd love to see a WrestleMania in Cleveland.
Oh, that would be the perfect venue for it right there. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And then college football. You can bring college football back. The Buckeyes have not been up this way since they played Toledo 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You can host bowl games. The Cleveland Bowl, I don't know, the Great Lakes Bowl that used to actually be here back in the Titanic days. But it's so much you can do instead of having a dormant stadium where you concerts. Like you can have a stadium concert again.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about people going to freeze to death because it's fucking February in Cleveland by the lake. Are people actually going to show up? Shit.
And the weather's unpredictable in that area right now too. So you figure if you had a concert outside, it's like it limits you how many months you can actually utilize it for.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, like once it starts getting cooler and the wind starts swirling around, like with the setup and the lights and everything else you got going on, that's unpredictable. Because like, okay, what if you're in the middle of a concert and all of a sudden, weather changes because
That's the wind.
Yeah, knock your whole display down and
Pull a speaker over and crush 12
yeah,
people.
man, mess the audio up. Like if you in a dome, you ain't gotta worry about it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And me personally, I think Cleveland Brown Stadium, First Energy Stadium, whatever the fuck y'all calling it nowadays, I think that should have been a dome to begin with. Because we need something new. And I'm not even a Browns fan. I'm a football fan. I've never been against the dome. What I've been against is why people don't want a dome. Oh, you're taking away the traditional cold weather again. Who gives a fuck about the cold weather?
Why do you want that?
I went to the Ravens-Browns game when they went 0-16 and I fucking froze my ass off and I couldn't enjoy the game. Fuck open weather. Okay? Ronnie, you've been a player. I will never, matter of fact, we played on the same fucking high school team. I will never forget that Rhodes game where we lost in overtime.
Oh, in the snow?
We played through snow. We played through the hailstorm and we fucking froze to death and still lost. I will never forget that game. Fuck open weather.
Yeah, because that weather,
man,
unless you're on the field, who wants to be out there?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I was like, look, I don't even care if I'm a part of this play. I will go out there as a decoy just to stay warm.
I promise you, when I went to that game, I was fucking cold. We brought a blanket And the blanket didn't help. And we were sitting on the bottom bowl area behind the goalpost.
Ooh, the swirl.
And I'm thinking we sitting in the bottom bowl area behind the goalpost. We're cool because, you know, that's the lowest part of the stadium outside of the field. Fuck you. You live in Cleveland. You want stuff to be brought back here. Get shit that makes sense. A dome in Cleveland makes sense. The Pontiac Silver Dome, the Lions weren't that great, but the stadium itself hosted multiple Super Bowls. It's hosted college football. It's hosted an NCAA tournament game or two, if I'm not mistaken. And it's hosted a WrestleMania. The most famous WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre.
Yeah, and then here's another point for you. Structurally, domes last longer. Think about this for a sec. How long was the Superdome around in New Orleans prior to Katrina hitting it?
30 years.
See what I'm saying? And as far as any upgrades, the upgrades happen on the inside. You don't have to all of a sudden build a new building. You just move around some stuff inside the building that's already enclosed.
And think about the
just saying.
And no, you're right. And think about the advancements that have been made in the domes. The most famous dome right now, outside of the one in LA, is in Atlanta. Cheaper food. Because Arthur Blank made that a point. What can I do to get these people to keep coming back to these Falcons games, even though the team is terrible right now? Cheaper food.
Cheaper food, cheaper beer.
The cheaper beer. The seats are affordable. Like, this is stuff that makes people want to come, even though your team is terrible. The Browns aren't terrible anymore. So why not give the fans what they deserve, essentially? Yes, diehard Browns fans are going to miss the cold weather games. Who fucking cares if it's 72, you're warm, and the Browns are winning?
Speaking of which, I'm glad you brought this up. To combat that, I remember certain parts of the stadium had heated seating, right? But you went out of your way to spend the money to add that type of upgrade to it, when if you had a dome, you wouldn't need to heat any seats. You would just have actual heating. 72
and warm all day.
Like, oh man. And here's another thing for you. I got one more gripe. You wouldn't have to worry about the 12th man, because the 12th man obviously didn't help you all them years that you was out there, because you would have had a couple more wins to notch off if the 12th man would have done something for you. But guess what? It didn't. So scratch that idea too. Oh, the wind swirling, and people coming from the West Coast and the South to play, and they're not used to it, and the kicker's having a problem, and something that Phil Dawson thrived off of that he got used to that no other kicker could do. Forget all that crap. It didn't help you.
It didn't, but the stigma behind it did. And I understand that, right, because I paid attention to that. But to touch on that, this does make sense. There is a swirling wind in that stadium. I felt it. It ain't nothing to play with.
It ain't.
It's not. That shit fucking cold. But you got the dog pound. Now, if you got the dog pound in an enclosed environment, imagine how much more deafening that dog pound is in a dome.
Man, 70,000 sound like 100.
Yeah. Yes. And it's almost to the point where you want this to be an intimidating place to play. It has not been. Cleveland has not been an intimidating place to play since 1995.
Man, tell them. Muni.
Actually, I take it back 94 because they left in 95.
Muni.
It's not been an intimidating place to play since 94. And if it's not an intimidating place to play, nobody's going to take it serious coming here.
Nope.
Okay, how do you combat that? Close all this shit up. Don't even have a retractable roof. Just close all this shit up. Put the dog pound where it used to be, which is on the right side of the stadium, not the left.
Mm-hmm.
and have at it. Make the dog pound section bigger than what it is now. Literally call it, and I would be me being an asshole if I'm Jimmy Haslam. I actually put my money in on this too because let's look at reality. When the taxpayers pay for it, it's ours. It's ours. You have a lease with the city. If you're smart and you really want all the money to come to you, you put your money in because you're a billionaire. We all know this.
Mm-hmm.
Put your money in, or you put over more than enough to cover half of the cost or more than half of the cost. So the city has no choice but to give you the stadium. You collect all the gate, you collect all the concession, you collect TV deal money, you collect regional money, all of that. If you're smart, and you're supposed to be the businessman you're supposed to be. So this is what I do. And to touch on the dog pound, I expand that. I don't make it just one big section. I make it that entire end zone section.
Yeah.
Not just one spot. I make that shit all the way. I make that half a circle the dog pound. All right, motherfuckers. Y'all want to laugh when you come to Cleveland? Deal with this side now where they throwing bones and shit at you. From all sides. But that's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me. I
Makes sense to me.
make Cleveland if I'm Haslam or the Haslams, I'll make Cleveland I'll make that shit a dome, no retractable roof. I wouldn't even give a shit. If it's raining outside, it ain't gonna rain in the stadium. Believe that.
Yeah, forget the retractable. I mean, the thing is like
You don't even need it in Cleveland.
no, it's so gray during the fall and the winter. Like, what you gonna retract it to? It's like, ooh, those are some pretty snow clouds.
And then it starts snowing on the one, like in Texas Stadium, it starts snowing on the one part of the field.
Yeah, one side of the field, the other side of the field is clear. No, nobody want that.
I just dome all this shit up. Dome it up, put some pretty little stained glass or whatever on the outside. 90,000. That's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you got enough space on Burke Lakefront Airport to build a 90,000 seat stadium.
You do. And for those that are wondering, that airport is very underutilized. And I think I'm not even using the right word.
You only use it when the air show comes. You don't have the Grand Prix no more, so you're only using it when the air show comes.
And you're not giving out lessons all year or nothing like that.
You ain't gave out lessons since the damn aviation school was up. That was in 94.
And that's gone. It's just a monument now.
Yeah, landmark. So, okay, don't touch that. Don't touch that. But the rest of that shit, plow it over.
And then they don't do what's called anymore either. What was that for the kids? Safety Town. Remember that?
Oh, man. I give a fuck about Safety Town. We was doing bad shit anyway.
Yeah, true. But they don't do that anymore. So you're really not utilizing it. It's just sitting there waiting for the air show to come.
And I saw the article. They're picking out spots between Ontario, Carnegie, and over the bridge. And I'm like, for what? It's a fucking airport. Yeah. On the west side somewhere. But it's like,
no.
But it's like, this fucking airport is sitting right here. Why not just buy it? Look, you want your private planes, I get it. You want to fly, take your ass to Burke Lake for Cleveland Hopkins.
Yeah.
Like everybody else. Take your ass to Cleveland Hopkins, put your jet somewhere or put your charter plane somewhere where they gonna let you. We got this shit over here.
Yeah, it's what you're gonna do. You're gonna fly into there so you can like untie your boat and go out on the lake. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like to your point, just buy it and just build on it, man.
That's all you can do, man. Don't look for nowhere else. It's sitting right there. It's so much you could do in the city of Cleveland as a tourist site. People don't want to admit that, but there have been plenty of places outside of the flats you can go. We got the Football Hall of Fame that's an hour down the road. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is literally next door to the stadium that's up right now. The Indian Stadium is down the street. You got so much shit you can do down here that you really don't have to spend a lot of money on.
Yep.
Why not?
And quite frankly, here's another thing that they don't have here in Columbus that they got there. People forget about the RTA. I get it. It's some characters on there, but the connectivity that you have around the
to
greater area,
every stadium.
literally every single one has a bus route. Literally every
Matter of fact-
single place you go to has a bus
route.
route.
And on top of that, 2 of the stadiums are fucking connected to each other.
Yep. And you can buy a pass for the day and go wherever you want for those 24 hours.
There you go.
You see what I'm saying? You ain't gotta pay for parking if you don't want to. You can just catch. Man, they don't hear us.
And think about this, people. If the Haslams wise up and buy Burke Lakefront Airport, think about the TV deal that's going to come behind a domed stadium.
Man.
Meaning, you can play 8:00 games, Sunday nights, 4:00 games, the matinees, Monday night football, Sunday night football. Fuck Thursday. I'm not a fan of Thursday night football. So Monday night and Sunday night. Think about that.
Yep.
ABC or ABC/ESPN here on a Monday night 8:00 game, or NBC here on a Sunday night. They don't have to freeze to death. 90,000 people, which was the same amount of people at Municipal Stadium in 1994 cheering loudly.
And all the big name media coverage coming.
Man.
And then here's another one for you. You're not losing events to
other bullshit cities
or other places here in the city. Because remember, if you have a dome, now you can host certain events that you lose to Rocket Mortgage.
Right. Now y'all got to fight for it. And you might win a lot more than you lost.
Because you figure there's certain events they're going to have there every single time because it's an arena.
The MAC tournament won.
Imagine having that at the new dome.
Sell that bitch out.
See them? Everybody making more money. Literally everybody. Bigger venue. Better.
Matter of fact, you can play the MAC tournament at Rocket Mortgage. You can have the championship at the dome.
At the dome. See? Don't nobody hear us though, man. It's cool.
Yeah, we know. It's okay.
It makes too much sense, man.
In 2025, we'll see this idea come to fruition. And I'll be spending my tax money building
it. You're like, tax money well spent. I get it.
Tax money my ass. Half of that, a 0.1% of that dome is mine.
Right.
My fucking tax money paid for it. All right. We got 3 minutes left, but close out the show. Money in the Bank is tonight. And I saw Friday Night SmackDown last night. So the men's Money in the Bank is set. The women's Money in the Bank is set. Becky Lynch is the odds-on favorite, but I don't think she got it. I don't think she got it tonight, honestly. And the match I want to see, tonight is the Street Profits and the Usos for the Undisputed Tag Team Championship. The reason I want to see this match so bad is because you got 4 shit talkers and 4 of the best shit talkers in the tag team division going at it. I can't wait. And Montez Ford, he done bulked up a little bit. So I'm interested to see how this match plays out. But honestly, that's the most anticipated match I'm waiting to see. I'm so excited for that match.
You know, when it goes down at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, it's happening. It's going to be live. And, of course, who we mentioned earlier will be there, and eyes will be on that. It's going to be interesting.
Keep in mind, in one tag team match, it's the first 4 ethnicity groups to do the Humpty Dance all in one match. You got Samoans and you got black people.
Yeah.
So shout out, rest in peace, Humpty Hump. Another thing, another special announcement since I'm in Facebook jail. I can't post. We we'll be producing more written content, but it will be on our new website, 216 Sports Network, sportsnet.com. So all of our written content will be there. I am so proud of this advancement, an upgrade. Like, appreciate you guys for watching, sticking with the network, and sticking with Redline. Like, this has been a dream come true. If you'd have told me this 5 years ago, I'd have told you was smoking dope. So just keep with it, man. Cobras, don't forget the Cobras, July 9th, which will be this weekend coming up. Cobras and the Gladiators will be squaring off again. And this will be a big rematch. I'm actually looking forward to this. Write-up about this game will be on our website. It will actually be the first write-up on the new website. So be on the lookout for that later this week. And Smooth, unless you got something, we're going to close it out.
Hey, all I can say is, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the support. We love it. We look forward to more opportunities to be able to do this and to be able to bring you guys some good content. And like Mel said, make sure you do continue to follow us. Facebook,
Twitter,
Instagram, YouTube, man.
I'm still trying to figure out Instagram, man. It's just terrible.
It's all good, man. But yeah, y'all definitely go ahead and check out 216sportsnet.com for more content. And we'll try to give you the best that we can.
All right. So for 4th and 15, that's Tim. I'm Mel. That's Smooth. Peace. Deuces.